They split a whole city into three to make black voters have less power.
It's in the Constitution. Get over it.
B. Ferguson
and
of
your point
1896.
is, bring it.
Because you're being utterly disrespectful.
Not at all.
Every voter in America, white, black, or otherwise, can go cast a ballot right now.
A battle over redistricting that is playing out at the Supreme Court as Republicans and Democrats try to gain an edge in November's midterm elections. Today, the court's conservative majority cleared the way for Alabama to use a new congressional map that would eliminate a district currently held by a black Democrat. The Supreme Court offered no explanation in its order, which tosses out a lower court decision that blocked the use of that 2023 map. There's already voting underway in that state. They are planning to toss out that map, go with a new map that favors Republicans, eliminates a district. And then you have the President Trump, sending a message to South Carolina, your home state, Bakari, saying the South Carolina State Senate has a big vote tomorrow on redistricting. He says, Republicans, be bold and courageous, just like the Republicans of the great state of Tennessee were last week. Move the U.S. House primaries to August. Leave the rest on the same schedule. Everything will be fine. Get it done. So
I want to take a step back and look at this from a 50,000-foot view, to be completely honest. I think Ashley and I have to wrestle with the fact that we are going to be the first generation to actually leave this country worse than the one that we inherited. There is a casual laughter from people we believe to be our friends on the right who are showing us true colors today, because the most sacred, or one of the most sacred acts you have in the United States of America is the ability to cast a ballot and elect someone and send them to Congress, the State House, or a mayoral seat that represents your interest. And now black folks throughout the South are being silenced. And I don't find that to be a laughing matter.
I heard you say that people are losing representation. People are losing their voice. No voter has lost their voice at all. No one's been disenfranchised. Every voter in America before these court rulings could go cast a ballot this November, and every voter in America, white, black, or otherwise, can go cast a ballot right now. The lines may be changing, but every voter still has the same amount of voting power, one vote, that they had. It's just that this Supreme Court said your race doesn't necessarily have to dictate your political identity. The fact that you're an American citizen and your franchise gives you one vote, that is your political identity. And it is incumbent upon both parties, Republicans and Democrats, to run people who speak not to just one constituency, but all American interests. To me, that's how the November election should be run.
Please.
Go ahead, Ashley.
I might agree with you if they hadn't said something different 3 years ago. We aren't talking about in Alabama a district that existed when my grandmother was alive. We're talking about a district that was drawn in 2023 because there are injustices that are still being placed. We're talking about Memphis, where we're not it's not just one person across the street. They split a whole city into three to make black voters have less power in House maps. The Voting Rights Act, which actually was the last time it actually was reauthorized, was under your boss, George W. Bush. Mm-hmm. It used to be a bipartisan thing. It used to be clear that the backdrop of this country, there is discrimination now. There was pervasive discrimination when the law was signed into law during the Civil Rights Movement. We can all go into our partisan corners, but to act like what is happening right now is not a direct attack on black voters' power, black voters' ability to represent themselves. Now, we had this conversation yesterday, Scott. Black voters are allowed to elect whoever they want. And in 2024, they did. They elected a black Democrat in that new district in Alabama. That black Democrat went through a primary of 13 people, and black voters found the agency to come and decide how that primary now will be erased. And put a black Republican up in that district if you want black voters to have a choice. But they're not. That's not what's happening. It is a dissemination, of distribution of black power. And to call it anything other than that, I just think is being historically ignoring the past of our country and pretending like we're not trying to drive our country to a different type of future.
One of the interesting things about Tennessee that we should also keep in mind is that Tennessee district that they did away with existed prior to the Voting Rights Act. So Memphis, as a city, has been a district even before they were trying to rectify racial discrimination with the Voting Rights Act. So, we're going to start to see maybe Virginia might try again and create that. Maybe they might try to create an 11-0 map, because now, according to the Supreme Court, you can. We might live in a country where all around the country, we have states where the minority political party has effectively zero representation in Congress.
I think everybody should take confidence in the fact Supreme Court basically supported one vote, one person, guaranteed in perpetuity. And the rest is just map wars. And I think we should get used to it. And I think it's, as you said, a state-based situation. Add this to the mix. At the end of the day, the state decides at the state level. It's in the Constitution. Get over it.
So the problem with that sentiment is that you were born in 1954.
Yeah.
Okay, you're
Very popular
You're
that
71.
Yeah.
Right. In 1954.
By the way, I'm a vampire. I'm never gonna die, so
during your lifetime, we've actually had Brown v. Board of Education.
I remember.
Yeah, Brown v. Board of Education. I don't know how you remember it. I think you were like 2 months old. But I'm not finished yet. Let me finish my thought.
Drill back to 54.
Yeah, because you're still alive, right? And so there's an entire generation of people. Brown v. Board, it overturned Plessy v. Ferguson of 1896. My point is that my mother was born in 1951. She desegregated schools. My father was shot in the civil rights movement. Those people.
Let him finish.
I'm going to finish because you're being utterly disrespectful.
Not at all.
So I'm going to finish this comment. So what I'm telling you is that there are people in this country who fought, died, and bled for the right to vote. Don't be a dick. Just understand.
Okay. Bakari, please.
Just
I'm not
understand.
a dick. I'm pointing something out to you. The
Just-
Constitution's being upheld.
Hey,
Do you have a problem with that? Do you have a problem with the
understand-
Constitution of the United States of America?
Understand-
Bakari, I'm going to stop you because I just want everybody to reset with a modicum of respect at this table. Please stop.
I want you to understand
That's
that there is a
Mr.
price.
Dick to you, by the way.
There's a price that was paid for this right. There is a price that we uphold, and whether or not
Where are
you
you going
value
with
that,
this?
whether or not you value that or not, there are people who bled, sweat, and died and were imprisoned for access to the ballot box. And what we're
They still
seeing
have access.
what we're seeing throughout the South is that their voice, their vote, their representation, and people who have lived experiences to represent them are not being sent to Congress or where they need to go.
This debate, by the way, is happening among the justices. If you look at the Louisiana decision, the conservatives are saying, we've made great progress. It's time to let go of using racial discrimination.
And that's why I utilize the description of
And the liberal justices say exactly what you just said, Bakari, which is there's a history here that we're overlooking.
But Ellie,
Yeah.
I mean, the 3 years have passed since 2023
Yeah.
and 2026.
Exactly.
It's not that
All
long.
of a sudden, the country has made that
That much progress?
in
And
3 years.
that's the criticism of the majority. Look, there's a famous quote by Ruth Bader Ginsburg, right? When the Voting Rights Act came.
Who should have retired?
When the Voting Rights Act came up, when she was on the bench, she said, the conservatives said, well, we've made great progress, so we don't need this anymore. She said, I'm paraphrasing, but she said, that's like getting rid of your umbrella in a rainstorm because you're not getting wet.
Yes.
And the question is it still raining? Is it drizzling? Is it clear? People differ strongly on that.
And guess what? It can be clear one day and rain the next. And so that's the inconsistency.
And the crazy part is, go ahead.
I just want to point out the one person, one vote. I think, Bakari, us millennials will have to wrestle with how we're going to leave this earth. And I'm determined to leave it better than I found it. And I think that this decision is actually going to open a rush to reevaluate a lot of things, like you say, are in the Constitution. Because right now you have a hat on that says Utah, and they have more representation in the Senate than the people actually in Alabama have in the Senate.
I got a situation in Utah going on.
I know, that's not why you have the hat on.
No, I
but
have it on.
You have it on, and so there are states right
I'm
now that have
supporting
two
the people of
senators.
Utah.
When we're sitting in a state right now that has more population than Utah multiplied by 10. And so if we
You
really
don't like
want to
Utah?
talk about,
I love Utah.
I'm talking about all the states that have smaller populations. If we really want to talk about one person, one vote, and if we really want to go down a path to see what real franchise mean, you might have just opened a discussion that this country is timely to actually have.